So we got a great guest in studio here as we continue on with Riveting Radio Real Estate from John L. Scott here in Shelton. It's Dawn Pannell.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great.
We got a lot to get through today, and
Yes.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I am the cause.
Don't make her elaborate.
I'm the
Right.
I'm the speed bump on all these conversations here. What are we talking about here?
We're going to try and get through S today so that we can finish the alphabet by the end of the year.
We're going to try.
We'll try that.
For sure.
So we're finishing up with we've been talking about the seller's disclosure statement, which admittedly is a pretty detailed
It's a pretty
document.
big one, yeah.
So your questions have been warranted. I'm sure.
good.
So yes. So I'm going to skip around a little bit. We're on the last page, and there is a little section on manufactured and mobile homes. So if your property is a manufactured or a mobile home, there are questions that you need to answer. If it's not, then you just mark does not apply on there. Remember, we talked about that you have to either mark yes, no, don't know, or doesn't apply.
Right.
So, and the only questions they want to know about whether, if it is a manufactured home, is have there been any alterations? Have previous owners done alterations? And if the alterations were made, were there permits?
Right.
You have to be a little careful with manufactured homes because if you add things, they have to be self-supporting. They can't be supported by the manufactured home itself.
Right. Okay, yeah,
so
makes
like
sense.
a deck has to have its own supports, that kind of thing. So
Or a screened-in porch kind of area.
it has to have its own, it has to be
Yeah.
freestanding from the
Right.
manufactured home, and that's so that there won't be any extra pressure on the siding of the home.
Right.
So it makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah. So those are the only things that you mark on this document. And then the last thing is sort of the obligatory catch-all thing of, do you know anything else?
Yep.
So
Let me see.
there's a section that says, are there any other things? And you say yes, no, don't know, or it doesn't apply. So that's the last thing. So the one right before that I wanted to spend the most time on today has to do with lead-based paint.
Sure.
And that is a big thing, especially if the home was built before 1978.
Right.
You have to, in fact, if it was built before 1978, you have to fill out a whole separate form on lead-based paint.
Okay.
And what they want to know basically is, on this particular form, you have two sections, and you mark either I know there's lead-based paint, or I don't know whether there's lead-based paint, and then do I have records about that, or do I not have records about that? So those are the only two things on this one. So lead-based paint, the reason that that's important is that they have done a number of studies that especially kids are highly at risk for ingesting lead-based paint. They kind of tend to peel paint off of windowsills and eat it and stuff like that, and it can have be a real detriment to their mental health, mostly. So
Even on the small little flakes that come off, you got to be that careful.
yeah, if it's lead-based paint, most of the homes that I've run into, even ones that were built prior to 1978, they've been painted over so many times that it's not an issue.
Is that okay? Then, I mean, because I was just thinking, how would you get lead-based paint off a home?
Well, if it there's a test that you
Okay.
can do, and that's one of the things that they ask you on the form that you fill out if your house is older, is that the buyer has a right then to do that test. And it's a little stick that they bring in, and they put it on the actual paint, and if it turns color, then you know that there's lead in that paint.
Yeah, even if it's underneath other paint.
If it tests, then
Okay.
it's close enough to the surface apparently that it's an issue, and so then you have to have somebody come in and abate that by taking it off or
Whoa.
whatever it
I
is.
know. How would you do that? I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it.
Or
Well,
how
yeah,
many
sure.
layers? I mean, is there a scientific thing that would tell you?
I don't know. I know that the only thing I know is that it depends on how that test comes out.
Wow.
A lot of times, people will just waive that test. They figure, okay, well, it's been painted over so many times, and I don't have any small children, so I'm not
Right.
going to worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
But it can also be harmful to adults too. There's a couple of statistics I wanted to read here. Homes and obviously children. So even children who seem healthy may have dangerously high levels of lead from who knows where. I mean, it could be from daycare, other people's homes.
Okay, right,
So you just want to make sure that your own home is safe. And disturbing the surfaces with lead-based paint or removal improperly can also cause problems.
Wow.
Because then that gets in the air. And so if you determine that you have high levels of lead, you want to bring a professional in to get that off, because you can cause more problems than that by doing it yourself. And you can get lead in your bodies by breathing in or swallowing lead dust or eating soil that's been contaminated. So it's kind of all out there. And people may have they have options of removing lead. Generally, lead-based paint that's in good condition and not a hazard is okay. So your question about that is if it's not flaking, if it's all in one piece, if it's been covered over a number of times, you're probably okay. But if it's
still
a concern,
get the test.
yeah. And
this
I'm reading from a little booklet that I have that if your house was built before 1978, you should get a copy of.
Right.
If you're selling, because you need to be aware.
Because there are a lot of older homes in Mason County.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I've actually, as I said, it's very rare that people will actually go through the process of doing that test, but it's something we always recommend because it's the only way you're going to be absolutely sure. And so I wanted to read a couple of the things that this can cause in children. Can cause nervous system and kidney damage. Can lead to learning disabilities, attention deficit disorder, can cause speech, language, and behavior problems, poor muscle coordination, decreased muscle and bone growth, and even hearing damage.
Wow,
so,
and that's not just eating it, that's breathing
being exposed to it. Yeah, so it's a pretty, and then even in adults, it can cause harm to developing fetuses if you're pregnant.
Wow.
There's an increased chance of high blood pressure during pregnancy. There's fertility problems in men and women, high blood pressure, digestive problems, nerve disorders, memory and concentration problems, and muscle and joint pain.
Good Lord,
So,
how did we live?
It makes you wonder.
What was the reason for having lead-based paint in the beginning? Do you know?
I don't know. I was going to do some
What
research
is
on
that?
that, but it had something to do, I think, with how it adhered to surfaces was what I was always told.
Okay.
I'm not
And probably
positive.
better for weather.
Although if it's
outside,
interior, it's interior paint.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure, but it was,
Interesting.
and that's why they say if it's built prior to 1978, because in 1978 was when they stopped
Yeah.
Oh,
using
right,
it. They
right.
determined that, oh my gosh, this is a pretty serious list of potential problems here.
You ain't kidding.
We want to. Asbestos is the same way. I mean, for back in the day, everybody had asbestos.
Well,
and-
I was born in the 60s,
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
dating myself. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we had no car seats. You know,
Right.
how did we live?
No seat belts. Yeah. Well, that's what they're saying now, that the problem is that kids don't eat enough dirt.
Right? We ate
But then if it's
mud pies.
if it's got lead in the dirt, then you really don't
They
want to
really
be
don't
you don't want to
wanna
be
do
eating
No,
it.
no.
All
But
right.
yeah.
All right, Don.
But
Where
yeah,
can
it's a good idea to get tested.
Yes,
I
yes.
would
if
get it
if there
tested.
is a concern,
Right.
and like I say, it's a
Right.
pretty simple test. You just have to do it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
deal with the consequences if it comes back
Yes.
that there's a problem.
where can people find this booklet you were talking about, and then how can they get in touch?
The booklet, I have copies available, so if they would
good.
like one, they can certainly email me, and I'd be happy to email it to them, or they can stop by the office, and we have a supply of them there as
good.
well.
Good.
And again, if you're thinking about putting your house on the market and it's older, it would be a good idea. We also have a pamphlet about mold that's a good thing to kind of read through. So those are all available at the office. So stop by on the corner of 3rd and Railroad at the John L. Scott office, and
Newly renovated.
newly renovated.
Beautiful.
Yes,
nice.
yes. Although we're getting kind of used to it now. It's not really new anymore. But they can, as I always say, if I'm not there, they know where I am, and they can also call me at 360-490-4493.
Very nice.
Good to see you, Don.
You have a
Good to
great
see you.
weekend.
Have a great weekend. We're not going to see you before Thanksgiving, so have a good one.
Happy Thanksgiving and best wishes to you, Vicki.
We'll check
thank you so much.
check back with you December already.
We'll see you then. Hopefully get through the alphabet.
We'll get through it. Trust me, we'll get through it. All right. Have a great rest of your day,
Yeah,
everybody.
you
Have
guys
a great
enjoy
weekend.
your weekend.